This video is partnered by Mint Mobile. Hey guys, before we dive into the video, there's something special I want to share with you. Like many of you, I've been trying to cut back on expenses lately, but let's be real. It's tough when you got things to do and you don't want to give them up. But sometimes you have to make those sacrifices to pay your phone bill and satisfy the big tech companies. That was until I discovered Mint Mobile. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless services starting as low as $15 a month. With Mint Mobile, you can get high-speed data plus unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network. The best part? You get to keep your phone and even the phone number. Now, if you do want to purchase your own phone, they do have phones available on the website, which you can get through the link. The internet service is reliably fast. It's so seamless, I put it up there with any other network on the market. Now, some of you might think switching to a new service is a hassle. Let me reassure you, this is only going to take you 15 minutes to set up. You could literally do it right now from your phone, no need to leave your house or contact anybody, and if the service just so happens to not support the SIM card, Mint Mobile will personally ship you a SIM card for free. As a sweet bonus, if you sign up before May 31st, 2024, you'll also get a 6-month subscription to Paramount Plus on Mint. So if you're like me and you want to save a little bit of money without sacrificing anything, use the link trymintmobile.com/justAlyx and start your wireless plan today as low as $15 a month. Don't lose out on this opportunity. Start saving money by switching to Mint Mobile today. Full transparency. Before I started recording this video had a different title. And I changed it because I felt like, although the original I know would have gotten me a lot more clicks and a lot more engagement because it plays into that negative side of the wrestling fan base, I didn't feel like it encompassed what I was trying to say. Also, I'm not someone that likes to do that. I don't do that anymore. I'm not gonna do a video for clicks. I actually want to make videos that carry substance, right? And so the title you see now is what I think fully encompasses the point of this video. And I hate that we've reached a point with All Elite Wrestling to where almost every video, there's a prerequisite. I had to preface the video by saying, I still love AEW. I want it to be good. I want it to prosper. I want it to thrive, not survive, but thrive in what it does. Why? Because for the wrestling business to grow, to be healthy, you need 2 viable promotions competing for the top spot. Not one dominating everything. You need another one that can come in and push the top company to be better than what it is. And then therefore we have 2 platforms where wrestlers can go to apply their craft and make a living. That's how the business works. When you see a WCW or a WWF or a TNA or whatever doing great, the business is always doing better because it gives wrestlers options. They're not confined to the constraints of a certain promotion. If it doesn't work for them in WWE, it might work for them in AEW and vice versa. You need AEW. We need AEW to be successful. Otherwise, wrestling just stops being as fun. I hate that I had to preface every single AEW video with that. Because unfortunately, we live in a time where there are these cultists, not wrestling fans, but cultists on both sides that go crazy if you have any kind of criticism, critique for what they like. Because in their heads, they think it's the greatest thing in the world. And if you poke a hole in it in any kind of fashion, they get angry because they're immature. They're not adults. It's not just the fans either. It's the people in the business. I think it's worse when it's coming from inside the business. Look here. I have spent thousands of dollars on AEW over the last 5 years. pay-per-views, live events, merchandise, I have every right to come up here and tell you I don't like what I'm seeing. I think this is not good. I think it's a far cry from what made me a fan of AEW. And I think if things don't change, my fandom might be going elsewhere. I have every right to say that. That doesn't make me less of a fan of wrestling. That makes me a fan that wants to see AEW do better and get out of its own way. Because currently, I think we can all agree, doesn't matter how much of a fan you are, AEW is not as good as it once was. This company is taking bullet after bullet after bullet, and it cannot get out of the line of fire. And every metric, and people are talking about it everywhere on YouTube, everywhere on social media, and every metric except pay-per-views, AEW is failing. It's fallen off a cliff. Viewership is down. Attendance is down. They're not drawing a profit. We'll talk about that in a second. They're not expected to in the first 5 years, but we'll talk about that. It's not good. The quality overall has even suffered. And that was the main bread and butter. Now, is it all bad? Let's talk about some of the good things. I will start off with the good stuff, because I do think we should give praise where praise is due, and at least give some light at the end of the tunnel. So I just saw a report from Fightful Select that AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery is currently in talks to make a new deal very, very soon. We aren't expected to get an announcement until, this is from Fightful Select, late summer, early fall. Now, I don't know when the current TV deal ends. I think it ends the end of December, right? At the end of December 2024. We're coming up close to it. We got a couple of months, but it's going to hit you very, very quickly before you know it. So they better have something ready. Yeah, by late summer, early fall. It's a good place to announce something. I can sit here and tell you, personally, I think they'll get a TV deal. Will they get a rights increase? We'll have to see. Hopefully they do. They need it. But they're not going anywhere. And part of the reason is, this is also coming from Fightful, they announced that AEW is getting another program. Oh, Jesus, another wrestling program. I did see that it wasn't another wrestling show, because, Jesus, we have enough of those. Rampage, Dynamite, Collision, that's more than enough. I think it's going to be more of a, I don't know, it's not a reality TV series, but maybe behind the scenes kind of show. That's fine too. That's fine. But that should give you an indication that, all right, well, that must be a good sign if they're looking for more content. And then on top of that, I did see that the plan, along with this new TV deal, is to move all of AEW's pay-per-views to Max, the streaming service, the former HBO Max, which, for the love of God, please, I need it. I don't know how long I can keep paying $50 for all of these pay-per-views. It was fine when AEW had 4 pay-per-views. No problem. They have 9 pay-per-views now. 9. Let's count them. Revolution, Dynasty, Double or Nothing, Forbidden Door, All In, All Out, Wrestle Dream, Full Gear, World's End, and we might get more, because why not? 9 pay-per-views. No, sir. No, sir. Please, for the love of God, move them to Max. Immediately. Not immediately, but immediately. Thank you. So, that's good news. If things are looking well with AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery as a relationship, that at least gives me some kind of solace. They have a future. For the time being. Now, if things don't change, I can't say that will be the case 5 years from now. Because I'm looking at AEW as it stands right now, where it's going to be 5 years from now. It's not looking good. It's not looking good. And it's sad because everything was looking great for AEW in March. Man, they just had one of the best pay-per-views ever. Ever. Not just for AEW, ever. Revolution, Sting's retirement, Will Ospreay's debut, at least in terms of a member of the roster. That match with Konosuke is a classic. Bryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston, classic. The retirement of Sting in that tag match, classic. 16,000 strong fans, all the momentum in the world. And then they dovetail that into the debut of Kazuchika Okada and him turning heel. We have this new elite stable. Mercedes Moné debuts. Man, everything's looking good. Numbers are up. Ratings are up. Attendance is up. They brought back the ranking system. Man, it felt like AEW found itself again. And then, god damn it, CM Punk had to do that interview with Ariel Helwani. As soon as CM Punk came out with that interview where he ran down, he didn't even run down Jack Perry. He did, but he just recanted what happened at All In, AEW All In 2023. All of a sudden, everything stopped mattering. Tony Khan smelled blood in the water, and he had to get back at CM Punk. We're going to air that stupid-ass footage, which did nothing. And it's doing nothing for AEW. All it did was just hurt their reputation. Bad enough that you had Adam Copeland go out there talking about, we gotta be positive, we gotta do positive things, AEW's great. Then you flush that down the toilet with what you did the very next week. And the follow-up from it has not been good. I still have no idea what we're doing with the new elite. This stable with Jack Perry, Okada, and the Young Bucks. It's just there. I'm just like, where are we going with this? All that good faith they built up, they flushed it down the toilet. With dumb decision after Harvey Weinstein's comparisons, horribly executed angles, lack of direction, randomness. I don't even know what I'm watching anymore. I said in my last video, when I turned on Dynamite last week, I couldn't feel anything. I didn't feel nothing. I was watching wrestling, but I had no connection to it. And I hear all these people saying the same stuff. And respect to all the other content creators that have talked about this. One of them being OTRS Central. Love me some Slag Daddy. Watch all his videos. Go subscribe to him. And he did a great job of doing this. But all the other content creators are talking about the metrics. And you've heard it all before. Viewership is down. They're now averaging 700K. They used to average 1 million 2 years ago. The last time they averaged 700K was during the pandemic, when they didn't have fans, and they were going up against NXT. That's when they were averaging around 700K. Now, they're doing that without competition, and they have fans. Think about what I just said. They used to average 1 million a week. Now, during this 5-year period, it is expected for AEW to not do well. It is expected for AEW to lose money. Matter of fact, them losing money is part of their growth. Every business that you know about, there is no business, there's probably maybe 1 or 2 that broke this mold, but most times, 9 times out of 10, every business loses money the first 5 years. Even WWF. They lost money the first 5 years. They don't draw a profit. They don't start drawing a profit until 5 years afterwards. Because what you do, you start a business. And then, of course, you're not known. So most of the money that you have goes into producing, airing, of course, advertising. You're losing money. And you're building your place within that industry. That takes time, money, and most of the time, some businesses don't even last those 5 years. They go out of business because it's expected that they lose money. Not only has AEW exceeded expectations in terms of revenue drawn, they exceeded expectations in terms of popularity. Don't get me started on how hot they were in 2021. I remember when they did Arthur Ashe Stadium. When they first got fans back, Arthur Ashe Stadium, 20,000 plus sold out in minutes. Are you kidding? 20,000 sold out in minutes. They could have sold out a stadium if they really wanted to. They did. 85,000 Wembley Stadium. That was after they were hot. Imagine if they did that while they were hot. When they had CM Punk, when they had Cody Rhodes, when everything was working and everything was airtight with AEW. And you knew it, you felt it every week you watched it. It was the best thing, the best wrestling show. They just made dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision. And here we are in 2024 struggling. Now here's one thing I will say. People will tell you that their attendance is down, viewership is down, they're not drawing a profit. Here's one thing you have to give them credit for in terms of business. Their pay-per-views are doing great business. Very, very well. This is a pay-per-view model, by the way. This died out in the early 2000s, and they're bringing it back full swing. So check this out. On average, these numbers are out there. AEW does around 150K, 50,000 pay-per-view buys per show. Now, just to give you an idea of how good that is, WWE, back in the 2000s, the hot period, the Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression, averaged around 4 or 5 million viewers a week. But they would only do 250, 300K pay-per-view buys. That's less than 10%. Less than 10% of their weekly audience. That's why they moved away from it. It became a horrible business model where they just lost money. Right? AEW, even when they were averaging 1 million, they were doing somewhere between, I think it was 200K. What did All In 2021 do? I think it did over 200K, right? So 200K to 150. And they stayed, even now they stay within that range. Guys, that's over 20% of a conversion rate. Meaning, if they were to do what WWE is doing right now in viewership, 2 million, somewhere close to 2 to 3 million, maybe even 1.5, they would be doing 500K, around 500K pay-per-view buys. That's incredible numbers. The fact that they're doing that within their first 5 years, I don't care what you got to say about AEW. That is great. That just shows you the high quality of a pay-per-view that they have. That's why I keep telling y'all, AEW, no matter what you think about the weekly shows, just get to the pay-per-views. Just get me to the pay-per-views because they are the kings of pay-per-view. Right now, in this moment, even today. They've been the kings for a long time, since All In my opinion, 2021. Probably before then, they've been the kings of pay-per-view. But they are the kings now. Those pay-per-views for AEW hit different. So say what you want about other metrics. Give them that. But outside of that, everything is down. They don't even do the numbers that they did in 2021, almost 3 years ago. They don't do the numbers they did last year or the year before that. They can barely crack 800 views now. That's not good. And that's not cutting the cord either. I'm not trying to hear that shit. They're not drawing viewers. They're hemorrhaging viewers. They're losing viewers. They used to do around 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 a show in terms of attendance. Now they can barely do 2,000, 3,000. That ain't good. And it's worse when you do 2,000 in a 15,000 seat arena. What are you doing? How do you go from selling out Wembley Stadium, 85,000, to barely getting 2,000? It doesn't matter how you look at it. That is not good. And there's no excuse. Can I run down the roster? Can I run down the AEW roster? I'm not going to name everybody. I just want to name the big names. Now, some of these guys are injured. Some of these guys are on vacation, on sick leave, whatever. But regardless of the ones that are missing, you're going to flip when I name you all the people on the roster. Let's just go down the list. You ready? Adam Cole, baby. Adam Copeland, Edge. Hall of Famer, the rated R superstar, Adam Page, Hangman Adam Page. The Acclaimed, Scissor Me Daddy. A.R. Fox, Arn Anderson, the Legend, excuse me? Big Four, Athena, remember her? Yeah, some of you forgot about her. One of the best female wrestlers today. Stuck on Ring of Honor. We'll talk about that in a second. Bandito, what the hell happened to him? Big Bill, and he's 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that. Billy Gunn, badass Billy Gunn, are you serious? Hall of Famer, Brian Cage. Brian Cage is not the Hall of Famer. Billy Gunn is the Hall of Famer. Bryan Danielson, arguably the best wrestler in the world. There are other people that can have that title too. Kenny Omega, Will Ospreay. Those three alone are the 3 best wrestlers in the world today. You got all 3 of them on your roster right now. Well, you don't have Omega because he's hurt that particular. He's under contract with AEW. Come on now. AEW, we got more. The House of Black, Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, Julia Hart, breakout star, love her, Brody King, FTR, arguably the best tag team in the world, Dax Harwood, Cash Wheeler, and then you got legends like Chris Jericho, one of the greatest of all time, Christian Cage in his 50s, killing it, the best shape of his career. Fallen Angel, Christopher Daniels, Miro, remember him? Well, since him and CJ Perry got divorced, they're probably not. I don't know what they're going to do with that, and they're under contract too. Regardless, Miro and CJ Perry, oh my goodness. Claudio Castagnoli. Danhausen, at one point in time, he was the top merchandise seller in wrestling. Darby Allin, that crazy SOB, love him. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, breakout star, remember that one? Hopefully she comes back soon. Jamie Hayter, hate that she got hurt. Hopefully she comes back and kills it. Dustin Rhodes, Eddie Kingston, Jack Perry, Jake the Snake Roberts, Jay Lethal, Jay White, and the Bullet Club. Matt and Jeff. Well, Matt apparently hasn't re-signed yet, but I did hear he's going to re-sign because Jeff's not going anywhere. Wherever Jeff goes, Matt goes. But still, the Hardy Boys. Jeff Jarrett, John Morrison, Johnny TV, wherever you want to call him. Come on now, how do you not know how to use Johnny TV? John Moxley, the ace of AEW. Currently, the IWGP World Champion in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okada, the ace of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You got their top star. Keith Lee, he hurt, but he'll be back soon, hopefully. Konosuke Takeshita, wasn't he the ace of All Japan Pro Wrestling? Whichever one it was. I think it was All Japan Pro Wrestling, right? So their top star. Kota Ibushi, Kyle O'Reilly, Mark Briscoe, Mark freaking Henry. The Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks. Now I'm getting upset. Mercedes Moné. Barely do 700. MJF is hurt, but my goodness, I cannot wait for MJF to come back. We need him badly. Nyla Rose, Orange Cassidy, Pac, Paul Wright, Big Show, remember him? Paul Wright, Penta, and Cesaro Miedo and Rey Fenix. Lucha Bros, Lucha Underground, rest in peace. Powerhouse Hobbs, Ricky Starks, Riho, Roderick Strong, the list keeps going, it doesn't stop. Ruby Soho, Roosh, Sammy Guevara, Samoa Joe. A guy that they say would never wrestle again in WWE, here he is killing it. Saraya Paige, a woman they said would never wrestle again, here she is killing it. Serena Deeb, the current world champ and the first ever black world champ in AEW history, Swerve Strickland. Taya Valkyrie, Thunder Rosa, Timeless Toni Storm, a woman that they said was not good enough. She was mistreated and abused in WWE to the point that she left and quit. She came here to AEW, made a name for herself. Wardlow, Willow Nightingale, Willa Yuta, Willie Mack, oh my god. How are we only doing 700K? How are we not selling out every arena? AEW should be doing the same goddamn business as WWE right now. No excuses. WWE has some major stars. Cody Rhodes, of course, The Rock and Roman Reigns. They're not there right now, but yes, mega stars. You got Jey Uso killing it. You got Seth Rollins. You got Becky Lynch. You got LA Knight. Yeah, and they're doing 13, 14, 15,000 seats every arena. They went overseas to France and made them pay at minimum $300 a ticket. And they still sold that bitch out. And you're telling me AEW can't do that with this roster? I ain't trying to hear it. No excuse. And then on top of that, you have Don Callis, Excalibur, Jen Ross, Justin Roberts, Renee Paquette, Taz, Tony Schiavone, Nigel McGuinness as announcers and commentary. Freaking Renee Paquette is an amazing backstage commentator. She is amazing at interviews. You got Jim Ross, one of the greatest of all time. Tony Schiavone, one of the greatest of all time. Excalibur's great. Taz, Nigel McGuinness, Justin Roberts is an amazing ring announcer. You have literally the perfect roster to compete against WWE. And the reason why it's not doing so well is because of the people in charge. Can we admit that, please? And you know what? Maybe I'm just getting over dramatic. Maybe I'm the one that needs to calm down and just realize, Alyx, just because you don't like it doesn't mean everybody else doesn't like it. Maybe you're in the minority. Maybe you're right. Which is why I did polls. I created literally the most unbiased, fair, nuanced poll that you can create, where I asked people how they felt about AEW. And usually when you do polls, you gotta be careful, because if you have, is it great or does it suck? Then you risk bias playing a factor, right? What I did was have multiple nuance options, because I believe, well, number one, that weeds out the extremes, because you got people who love no matter what it does, and then who hate it no matter what it does. When you have two options that can take care of that, and you have some, in the middle, very fair, nuanced options, that is a fairer poll to do. And I put this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, across the board, so you have different audiences, right? When you look at these polls, and we'll put them up really quickly. And I do want to start with YouTube, because that's where I have most of my viewers. Look at this. So, it's only been up for a day. Around 300 votes. Of course, it's going to go for the whole week, so you can still vote. You look at these numbers. And see how I structured it? It's fantastic. That takes care of the cultists that just love it no matter what. It's terrible. That takes care of the haters that just hate no matter what. But in the middle is where the real audience is. Look at where most of the votes are going. It ain't going to it's good. You even have an option there where people can go, it's okay, it could be better. No, they're saying it's underwhelming. It's missing something. It needs work. That's not a good sign. And that's exactly how I've been feeling. I don't think it's terrible, but dear baby Lord have mercy, it ain't good either. It's nowhere near good. And the fact that the numbers are that low, and it's only 300, but that's not a good indication of things. Okay, but you know what? That's YouTube. Let's go to Facebook. Different audience, but look at this. This one has around, 300, 297, right? Again, same number. And again, it's underwhelming one. Highest percentage of people going, it's missing something. Again, they can always say it's okay, but they're not. All right, Twitter. And I even took out the fantastic option, so the top option, honestly, is more biased here. Over 300 votes, 42%. Underwhelmed, needs work. In total, that's around 1,000 votes across all platforms. Early, still early, but I don't know, man. It feels like everyone feels the exact same way I do. The product isn't doing it. And how is that possible when you have a stacked roster? They have one of the greatest rosters I have ever seen. I would put this roster up against any roster from the past. I would put this up against the Attitude Era roster for WWF. The WCW roster. Raw or SmackDown for Ruthless Aggression. Which one you want? I put this up against TNA. I put this up against NXT Black and Gold. This is one of the best rosters across the board that you could ever want. Triple H and Nick Khan would kill to have this roster. Are you kidding me? They would be crawling across hellfire and brimstone. They would sell their souls to get the talent AEW has right now. You know it's true. They can't do more than $700K. Guys, I think it's time we admit something. You can sit there and tell me all day, every day, that you think AEW is hated on for no reason. There is some truth to that. But even you have to admit, AEW is nowhere near as good as it used to be. Or it should be. It's just not. And a lot of that is because of the people running the show. Let's talk about it. We here, right? Part of the reason why AEW is not doing so well is because it stretched itself thin in terms of the hours of television they have to produce, in terms of the pay-per-views they have to produce. It's too much oversaturation of content to the point that I don't think Tony Khan, hell, even a team around him, but more specifically, I don't think Tony Khan can handle. He can't handle this much content. Because when AEW first started, it was only 2 hours a week. Now that's something. Just 2 hours a week of Dynamite? Okay. He can handle that. Not just that, but 4 pay-per-views a year and 2 hours a week. Oh, hell yeah. That's a good sweet spot for Tony. And then in 2021, you increased it to 3 hours a week with Rampage. But you still had 4 pay-per-views a year. Man, Tony can work with that. That's not bad. Anybody can work with that easily. But that was a good sweet spot for Tony. 3 hours, 4 pay-per-views. And then, of course, you had, Dark and Elevation, but that didn't matter. But then you get into 2022, where you add Battle of the Belts, and then you add Ring of Honor. Him buying Ring of Honor, the more you look back on it, was not a good idea. Because then you increase your pay-per-view schedule, 4 pay-per-views for Ring of Honor. Well, 3. Supercard of Honor. Yeah, never mind. Because it's Supercard of Honor, Final Battle, and then wherever the third one was. Sometimes it changes, I forgot. But then you increase your pay-per-view schedule, and you also oversaturate your television with Ring of Honor titles. Plus 2 more hours. That's a lot. And then you lose Cody Rhodes, and then you add another pay-per-view, Forbidden Door, right? Things start to fall off a little bit. And then 2023 hit. And it jumped the shark completely. Because then you add 2 more hours on Saturday with Collision. And then you add 3 pay-per-views. Then you lose CM Punk. And you see how much that fucked up the quality of the show. So now we're giving more and more TV time to AEW. You're stretching Tony Khan thin. He doesn't have help anymore. Because when he started, you had Cody Rhodes running the main event scene. Kenny Omega ran the women's division. And then the Young Bucks ran the tag team division. And all Tony Khan did was go, yes, yes, yes. Maybe not that. Yes. That's it. Now it's just Tony Khan. He has people giving him ideas, but it's all Tony Khan running. Everything. He's running Ring of Honor, he's running Dynamite, he's running Rampage, and he's running Collision. That's too much. It's no wonder he's losing his mind. And then you got 8 pay-per-views. Come on. So you go from Revolution, Double or Nothing, All Out, and Full Gear, yeah, to now Forbidden Door being added, to Wrestle Dream being added, to World's End being added, and then All In being added. And then this year they added Dynasty. And then he wonders why these shows don't feel as important, because you have to spread so much of your roster, and then you don't even use certain talent. You use the same people over and over and over and over again, so they lose importance. That's too much, man. And so what ends up happening is now you end up booking the shows week to week because that's all you can handle. There's no way you can plan long-term with AEW with what you have right now. The shows feel booked week to week because they are booked week to week. There is no long-term vision. You say that there is, but there isn't. At least with WWE, you had a vision. Because you had a team. You had writers. You deviated some of the responsibility. It's not just Triple H. He's in charge of creative, but he's not just running creative. He has help with Bruce Pritchard and other people. Okay, it's not just Triple H running it by himself. He couldn't handle that. Especially now that it's WWE and not NXT. But even when you don't necessarily like the vision or understand it, there's a vision. There's a focal point. There's a direction. With AEW, you don't even have a focal point. These are just happening. So right now, this new Elite stable is taking over AEW, and now we're doing AEW versus the new Elite. Before, it was the Undisputed Kingdom coming in to take over AEW, but then that fell apart because MJF got hurt, and Adam Cole got hurt as well, so they're off the market, so you can't use that. So now we're doing this with the new Elite, and this exists because CM Punk ran down Jack Perry in an interview with Ariel Helwani, and now they wanted to get back at him, and in doing so, they fumble-fucked their way into a storyline where they're taking over AEW with the new Elite. It makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't make any sense. I know you might like them, and that's fine, but there is no reason for this to exist where it is. And I'm sitting here going, who's the focal point? What are we doing? Where are we going to be when we get to All In? I don't know what they're doing with Swerve. He's in a feud right now with Christian Cage for no fucking reason. Christian just got a title shot. What happened to the ranking system? We brought that back. Now we're not even using it. It's like CM Punk completely drove Tony Khan over the edge, and now he's completely lost his mind, and he doesn't know what to do anymore. And at some point in time, bringing in new wrestlers loses its luster. That's all Tony does now. They hire these big names, and then they use them, and then we don't see them anymore. The follow-up is terrible. The debut's amazing. Adam Copeland coming in was great, but the follow-up hasn't been all that great. Mercedes Moné coming in was great, but she hasn't wrestled. So the follow-up is terrible. He's like a kid playing in a sandbox. You get a new toy, you play with it for a few months, and then you get bored of it. Then you want a new toy. Same thing happens. You play with it, get bored, now you want a new toy. That's why we keep calling it Tony Khan's sandbox. He gets bored with these wrestlers when he brings them in, he doesn't use them, and then they stop being relevant. They cease being important. When was the last time you saw Saraya on TV? Remember when she was a big deal? Jesus Christ. Storylines make no sense. If they even exist. Mogul Embassy, that's the stable that Swerve ran, just turned on him for no reason. I don't know why, they just did. Random shit's just happening on TV across the board. Again, the ranking system is non-existent. People are just getting title shots. They don't earn them anymore. And then we still got Tony Khan. And Tony Khan might be one of the worst aspects about all of this. So first off, one thing that Tony does that really pisses me off. He oversells and underdelivers. Hi guys! Dynamite's gonna be great this week. It's gonna be a great show. I get it. He's supposed to tell you that. But when you say everything is great all the goddamn time, and then most of your shows are average, that makes you look like an idiot. You look like a fool, and people stop taking you seriously. And Tony Khan's public image has taken a massive nosedive over the last 2 years. Since the media scrum. And then when he gets attention from the NFL, when he was on the NFL network, instead of talking about, I don't know, All In, AEW period, he was talking about WWE and it being the Harvey Weinstein of professional wrestling. And then he'll have his Twitter meltdowns where instead of promoting his show, he'll talk about, well, NXT couldn't do 1 million views with John Cena and The Undertaker. What are you doing, Tony? Why are you talking about Jinder Mahal getting a title shot. Why do you use your platform to put over anything that WWE does? You will never see Triple H talk about anything related to AEW. Ever. Instead, he'll just take your talent, like Jay Cargill. And CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, but you know what I mean. Maybe it's time we consider the fact. And I don't have anything against him personally. I hear he's a good guy. I believe it. But maybe we should consider the fact that Tony Khan should not be in charge of overall creative. Maybe he shouldn't be running day-to-day operations. To me, he should just be the overseer. Just a guy that just oversees everything. Hire certain people to run certain divisions, to run the show day-to-day. Give them the responsibility, and all he has to do is just go, yes, yes, yes. I don't know if I like that. Don't like that. Okay, sure. And that's all he needs to do. Because Tony Khan, you can love him all you want, but in terms of the day-to-day operations, booking week to week, he sucks. He can't do it. He books the show like one of these online trolls from these message boards. He doesn't book for a wide audience. He's not booking to grow the business, because the whole point is to grow. In these 5 years, you're supposed to be able to grow your audience and show that you have the ability to keep growing. You're not growing. He doesn't care about growing the audience. He cares about what he likes. And that is something that Vince McMahon used to do. That's what we hate about Vince. And here comes Tony doing the exact same thing. If he's going to stay, which he needs to because we need his money, but if he's going to be around, can he just not be in charge of creative? Just say yes. Yes, I like that. Yes, I like that. No, I don't like that. That's all you need to do. Something's got to change. I think it's time AEW considers downsizing. We've reached a point now, especially if we're going to get a new TV deal, because I think they are. They should consider downsizing across the board, in every metric, in every aspect. For example, roster rotation. You don't have to flood us constantly with the same big names over and over and over and over again. You can do a roster rotation. You have enough big names to where you can have Adam Cole and Adam Copeland and Christian and John Moxley 1 week, and then the next week Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, Saraya, Britt Baker another week, and then just keep rotating it out. You don't have to keep putting the same people on the same shows over and over and over and over and over again. You don't have to. You have enough big names to where you can rotate your rosters. So focus on spreading out these big names more sporadically and adding more quality to your shows. How do you do that when you have so much television time? Well, here's one thing you can do. Get rid of Ring of Honor. It's time. It's time to drop Ring of Honor. It's time. It's become a hindrance. It's become an anchor to AEW. I was hoping it would be a feeder system. All it is just oversaturating what we already have. I'm seeing too many titles on television. And Tony Khan can't handle running 2 shows. You can barely handle running AEW. And here you are wasting your energy trying to keep this company alive when the networks don't even want it. So this is just a pet project for Tony Khan now. Get rid of it. Get rid of it and move all of the Ring of Honor talent to Collision or Dynamite. That adds more importance to those shows, and now people will want to go see those shows more. So just get rid of Ring of Honor. Just drop it. Have a retirement show and just be done with it. Also, can we please, for the love of God, stop doing these 15,000 seat arenas weekly? Just stop. Just stop. Only do them for pay-per-views. If you know your pay-per-view model is amazing and you're killing it in terms of pay-per-views, then save the big arenas and stadiums for your pay-per-views and just do small, intimate arenas or just Daily's Place for Dynamite and Collision. Until you get your numbers back up, until you're in high demand again, don't go to these arenas. Just go to these intimate shows, pack that out, do a good solid 5,000 screaming fans, make it sound like it's 10,000. That will add to your shows. And then over time, when you get your numbers back up, then you can go back to the 13,000, 12,000 seat arenas. But until then, it's okay to downsize. Save the big arenas for pay-per-views. Get rid of Battle of the Belts. I hear they have a contract with that. The moment you can drop it, drop it. That's just wasting time. Also, this is just for me. Can we please cut back on pay-per-views? 9 pay-per-views is way too many. Even if you are going to max, that's too many pay-per-views. You're going to oversaturate your audience in terms of your pay-per-views. Cut back on it. Do 5. All you really need is Revolution, Double or Nothing, All In, not All Out, All In, Full Gear, World's End. That's it. One for the beginning of the year, another one for spring, one for the summer, one for the fall, and one for the end of the year. That's all you need. 5. Now, I'll be okay with Forbidden Door being number 6. That's it. You don't need Wrestle Dream. You don't need Dynasty. You really don't need World's End. You especially don't need All Out now that you have All In. And then for the months that you're not doing pay-per-views, build up to whatever special event. You can do Beach Break. You can do Grand Slam. You can do whatever. You don't need to have 9 pay-per-views, even with you going to Max, HBO Max. So cut back on that. If it's possible, if you can move Collision, if you can't move it away from Saturday, can you move it to an earlier time? Like 3 p.m., 4 p.m. even. Because I think Collision during the day, I think would do great. But when you have Collision at night, nobody's going to be watching wrestling unless it's a pay-per-view, of course. But no one's going to be watching weekly television wrestling on Saturdays. You can see that the numbers aren't doing very well. They're not doing very well. So move it either earlier on in the day or just pick a different night, like Thursday. Rampage should be moved away from Fridays at 9. Put that at the end of Dynamite, or at the very least at the end of Collision. Either one works. Because I think the experiment with them trying to grab SmackDown viewers, it's failed. They tried it, it's not working. At least with Dynamite, you're just giving the show an extra hour. Right? You're keeping the same audience for another hour. In theory. Finally, and we'll end it on this. As much as I want to see people make as much money as possible and for everyone to have a place to work, Tony, if you're not going to use certain talent, get rid of them. I'm sorry. What do you want me to say? If you just have talent just to have talent, if you don't like it, if you don't want them, and you're not going to use them, get rid of them. And then use the people that you know that you can use that are going to draw you money, that's going to create interest, that's going to make people want to tune into AEW over WWE. It's a business. It's time out for being a charity case. I'm sorry. Now that we've passed up the 5 years where all that was fine, when you were starting your business, fine, you could be a little bit lenient with who you bring in. It's time out for that now. The 5 years are up. By the time we get to 2025, you need to have a business model that's created to grow AEW, to create new fans, to keep your numbers up in terms of viewership, keep your numbers up in terms of attendance, bring in more pay-per-view buys. Help these wrestlers feed their families. Help the wrestling business grow, because when you're doing well, that pushes WWE to keep doing well, and now everybody's doing well, because us wrestling fans are doing well, us content creators are doing well, everybody's doing well. It's good for the ecosystem of professional wrestling. But when you're struggling and you're doing bad, that just hurts everybody. So I'm praying and hoping that by the time they get this new TV deal, Tony Khan gets his rear end in gear. Understand that maybe he shouldn't be taking on so much and actually get help. Understand that AEW is not great and stop overselling it like it's great and just sell it for what it is. A good wrestling show that will sometimes create amazing pay-per-views. All-timers. And that's it. Because that's what AEW is. At the end of the day, it's where the best wrestles. It's a good wrestling show. And you can say it's where the best wrestles because the best do wrestle there. Will Ospreay, Bryan Danielson, Kenny Omega. Adam Copeland, yeah. It's a fair statement to make. But don't oversell it. We want to see AEW succeed. But the people in charge need to get the hell out of the way and stop getting in the way. Otherwise, AEW will turn into another TNA. A company that could have been a viable secondary, if not number one promotion that could top WWE. And the people in charge ruined it. And I would rather Tony Khan be kicked out and someone else come in and save it than for AEW to become another TNA. How long is this video? Jesus Christ, this is a long video. I'm going to stop. Let me go ahead and end it here. If you watched it all, please let me know. Hashtag I watched it all down below. But give me your thoughts. We only want what's best for the business. I want wrestling to thrive. And I need AEW to get its rear end in gear and start producing great content again. It might not be good now. That doesn't mean it's going to go out of business, and that doesn't mean it won't be good later. But something has got to change. Even if that means it changes from the top. Thank you for watching. I'm going to let you go. Do all the YouTube things. Like the video, subscribe, and click that bell to catch all my content when it comes out. Follow me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and donate using PayPal, Patreon, Cashapp, and Venmo. I'm out of here, you guys. Please take care of yourselves, and always know you are welcome right here in Alyx's world. The place I did was and forever will be a safe space for wrestling fans like you. When you're